In this session, we're going to be talking about many-to-many relationships. So we have covered one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, and now it is turn to talk about many-to-many relationship. So what is many-to-many relationship, and when we're going to need to use it? So think about these scenarios. A many-to-many relationships occurs when multiple records in one table are associated with multiple records in another table. And here are examples. So what does that mean? Well, multiple records in one table and multiple records in another table. So what does that actually mean? So we're going to simplify it. But for now, I want you to think about this scenario, like students and courses. All right, students and courses. Think about a school. Can one student take multiple courses? Yes, right? So in college, we can have one student that takes like physics course, math course, music course. They can do that. They can take more than one course. That's the case 99% of the time. And also, can we have multiple people taking the same course? The answer is yes, correct? We could have 5 students taking math course. All right. So think about this again. We could have one student taking multiple courses. We could also have multiple students taking the same course, taking one course. That is a many-to-many relationship. Another thing, employees versus projects. We could have one employee working on multiple projects. All right. We could also have multiple employees working on one project. Parts and suppliers. One supplier can sell many parts. Okay, one supplier. Supplier is kind of a dealer or retailer here. One supplier can sell multiple parts, and one part can be purchased from many suppliers. And then another one is hotel room and customer. Multiple customers can book one room, and multiple rooms can be booked by one customer. All right. So these are the examples of many-to-many relationships. Another thing is position and employment websites. One position can be posted in many websites, right? Multiple positions. We could have software positions and engineering positions and project management positions, all different type of positions posted on one website, on many websites, okay, same positions. And one website can post many positions. All right. And in order to model this type of relationship, we create another object in between those two objects, and then we build it. For example, we have students enrolling in multiple courses. So one student can enroll in multiple courses. All right. Also, multiple students can enroll in one course. That relationship is built by creating another object in between them. This is called a junction object. Okay, a junction object. And then what we do is on this junction object, we create one master detail field that connects it with the course object, and another master detail field which connects it with the student object. So, and that will build the relationship. So let me go back here and show you this. Let's talk more about this. Students versus courses. So I'm going to create a student object. Okay, I'm going to be drawing a student object. So I'm going to keep it simple. This is a student. All right. So let's say student name. So far, for now, we're only going to save the student name information in it. In real life, you would say the student's age, date of birth, phone number, contact information, etc. So just for simplicity and for time saving purposes, we're going to save only their name, right? Let's say Johnny Bon is one student. Adam Mac is another student, right? And what we will do is we will also create a course object. All right. So what we're going to do is we will copy this entire thing and paste it. So we will have, this is going to be our course object. Here we are saving the course names. This is student name. Let's say we have math course, we have music course. All right, so let's add one more student. All right, and then another course, which is art. And can this one student, be taking math course and at the same time taking, for example, the music course? Is that okay? Can that same students also be taking art course? Yes, right? That is possible. Another scenario. Can we have multiple students taking the same math course? In this scenario, what we have is we have Johnny taking all three courses, and also this math course, multiple people can be taking this math course, right? So we could have Alex taking that course, and we could have Adam taking that same course. So this is a model for many-to-many relationship. You see, we have many over here, one course taken by many students, and one student taking many courses. All right, so this is a many-to-many relationship, and that's what it looks like. Now you might ask me, why do we need to create a third object in between to build that relationship? Our ultimate purpose is to save information, right? We want to save information about the courses and information about the students. We want to store the data. We want to know which course is being taken by which student. We want to save that information. You might ask, okay, why cannot we create one big object and store all of that information? So for example, let me show you this object here. This object is about students and teachers. Just like one student can have can take multiple courses, one student can have multiple teachers, and one teacher can have multiple students. That is a many-to-many relationship. Again, one student can have multiple teachers, and one teacher can have multiple students. That is a one many-to-many relationship. Now, if we decide to store the student information and the teacher information in one big table like this, then it is going to look like this. You might say, okay, what is wrong with that? It looks perfect to me. Well, the problem is, for example, here is the teacher information, right? Teacher ID, teacher first name, teacher last name, teacher email. On the left side, I had student ID, student first name, student last name, and student email. So I want to, for example, this Nessie, this student, has Darius as a teacher, and Ellis as a teacher, and Lawrence as a teacher. Okay. The problem here is we have created this Nessie student record 3 times. All right. You see, we have this same information repeating 3 times just because we want to indicate who the teacher is. How about, wouldn't that be nice just to create the student name once and then indicate that this same student has these 3 teachers? It would be very nice, right? For example, this student information is being repeated 3 times because because this student has 3 different teachers. Just because we are saving both student and teacher information in same object, we cannot leave these fields empty, right? So this field has to be filled, and we end up writing same information 3 times down here. The same problem can become for teachers too, right? If there is one teacher that teaches multiple students, then for each student, we have to write down the teacher information again and again down. So that is a very bad design. That's a bad design. Instead of creating or saving the student information and the teacher information in one big object, what we do is we take them apart. We create one student object just to save student information, and one object just to save teacher information, and then another object that is called the junction object to show the relationship between teachers and students. So we can tell that, okay, by looking at this, we can tell which student is related to which teacher. All right. And we don't have to create that record multiple times over and over again. The teacher record will be created once, and every time we need it, we're just going to refer to that same record. We're not going to create it. All right. So, and also imagine you're using one table, and as we start saving more information about the students and the teachers, this table can grow exponentially. These are just simple sample fields that we want to say about the student, and these are only few sample fields or information that we're saving about the teacher. What if you want to save the teacher's contact information and address, date of birth, and degree, license, and all of that information? Same for students. There is a lot more information that you will need to save about the student. Combined those fields, combining those fields in one object will make it look too big. First, we have a repeating records here, which is a problem. Second, it's going to become too big, which is going to be hard to manage. And that is one reason we don't want this. Okay. So here we have we're mentioning the benefits of using junction table, meaning benefits of using or separating the data into its own entity. Like over here, student is an entity, student is an object. Only student information is saved here, right? Here only course information is saved. And here we save the information about enrollment. What is the benefit of this? I've already mentioned a couple tips, but here they are. It has mainly three big benefits. One is, imagine the student and classes tables are provided to us by a third party. The tables don't have any relationship between them, and the tables must not be touched. In this case, if we need to create a connection between those two tables, the junction object should be used. So what does this mean? All right, sometimes the objects that you deal with or get information or create information can be located in another application. Just like Salesforce, companies can have many other systems that they use, right? Those two objects, in that scenario, if this object and this object is in another system, then if those objects are in another system, you cannot go and change them. You are working in Salesforce. You can change objects in Salesforce, but you can't change objects that live in completely different application. But the requirement is that you also have to build a relationship between them. So that is one great example for junction object. You will build this junction object and then relate the courses and students with each other. Another benefit is you want to create a separate table for student records, and you're going to add further attributes to it as needed, like the student address, contact info and etc. And you don't want to mix this information with those which belong to classes. Like we want to keep the data separate. We want to store information here. Here we only want to store in student information, here only teachers, and here the enrollment or the junction table. On this table, we want to store the relationship between students and teachers, right? We don't want to mix them. You want to assign different access rights to entities, tables, and the junction table. This is very, very important. And by mixing them together here, we end up creating multiple records, and that is a very bad thing in data modeling. You don't want to create the same thing 3 times. You just want to create it once and keep using it. So combining things into one object creates this bad data. You want to assign, that's the last benefit, a third benefit. You want to assign different access rights to entities, tables, and the junction table. So for example, in this table, since both information, both student and teacher information is living in one object, it will be impossible or very hard for you just to give access to teacher info, but not give access to the student information. Sometimes there will be scenarios. You would need to share the teacher records with users, but not share the student records, for example. But in this scenario, if they both live in one object, then that's going to be very challenging. But if they live separately, we can give access to this one easily and not to give access to this one very easily. We can just have users with profiles, with certain profile that can access this. And from that profile, we can remove access to students, for example. So the access and the security, the managing the access and improving the security improves greatly with many-to-many relationship. All right, it's very important. In many-to-many relationship, a junction object records are, we can talk about this in a little bit later, and they man-to-many relationship is built with creating that by creating that master detail field. So we can come back to this in a little bit later. And also there is you could also see similar many-to-many relationship that are already built in Salesforce. These are standard objects. They have many-to-many relationships, and we can also build the same thing by for our own objects. So we're going to be doing that and building that information, and so that we could demo it. That's going to happen in the next session.